Well, St. Martin's fans, it seems hard to believe, but we're already about two-thirds of the way through this decidedly strange and abbreviated season. But you know what? It surely beats the alternative of having no games at all. And at the end of the day, we remain resolutely appreciative of and so very, very thankful for the fact that these games are even being played at all this year. Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you for tuning in on a blustery Friday evening for the first game of a two-night home-and-home tilt between two longtime GNAC foes. Alongside Saints Director of Athletic Communications, Austin Burns, I'm Jeff Lucero, happy to be here with you for the live broadcast from Marcus Pavilion. Our game tonight finds the Saints pitted against longtime Great Northwest Athletic Conference rival, the Western Washington University Vikings, in what will be the first game of the Vikings season this year. We'd also like to welcome in any Vikes fans tuning in tonight. Very nice to have you along for the broadcast as well. We'll talk matchup shortly, but first, let's chat about the home team. And, well, for the Saints, they come into tonight's game feeling pretty darn good about themselves as they are fresh off two overwhelming and flat-out dominant victories last weekend at the expense of overmatched Northwest University. A week ago tonight, the Saints got it rolling early, ripping out to a 23-point halftime lead against the Eagles before going on to boat race them right out of Marcus Pavilion to the tune of 94-55. Three different Saints players each scored in double figures in a different quarter of the ballgame. Claire Dingus got things rolling with 14 first-quarter points before Maren Budeman got into the act, scoring 12 of her own in the second frame. Then in the fourth quarter, it was Ryan Clear's time to shine as she scored 12 across the game's final 10 minutes. In fact, she single-handedly outscored the Eagles in the fourth quarter as the Saints won going away. Returning to face the same squad the following evening, the Saints got off to a much slower start at the start of the game, but managed to lean on and eventually wear down Northwest in the second half. The final score of 84-59 was not indicative of the pace and course of play through the game's first 20 minutes. But once again, it was guess who? Claire Dingus coming up with yet another monster performance as she piled up 25 points, 15 rebounds, and 5 assists to lead the Saints in all three categories. Let's now bring in Austin Burns to the broadcast. And Austin, when Claire Dingus is playing at the peak of her powers, she is simply an extraordinary talent. All told, last weekend, she averaged 22.5 points, 12.5 boards, 4 assists, and 3.5 steals across those two games. We're almost kind of spoiled at this point, getting to watch her play week in and week out. She's truly a special talent and an utterly unrivaled competitor on the floor.
Yeah, Jeff, absolutely. I wish this was a normal season, so she could collect all those normal accolades. She's flat out an all-region player in my mind. I think she has her hat in an All-American category in a few places for sure. She's really the benchmark of this program. I was curious to see at the beginning of the year, how would she take that step forward without Bria Timms here anymore? How is she going to shoulder the load? And she's not only met that expectation, she's surpassed it by a landslide. She really has eclipsed herself. I think what anyone thought she would do as a freshman when she walked in here, she's turning into a complete superstar. And the Saints are really rallying around her. But you got a big test tonight against Western Washington. Even if it is their first game, this is a team who is going to come prepared and ready to play. And they're going to have their sights set on Claire Dingus and trying to stop the 3-time GNAC Player of the Week this year.
One thing Christy Martin did last weekend, change up the starting lineup quite a bit. And if those two games are any indication, the Saints surely responded the way she was hoping they would. For the first time all season, Coach Martin electing to bring Janelle Sutterlicht, Emily Nelson, and Lauren Morris off the bench while giving Ryan Clear, Maren Budeman, and Mallory Vivola an opportunity to start. Ryan Clear certainly took full advantage of her opportunity, notching back-to-back 20-point performances last weekend. In fact, if she keeps this up, Ryan Clear may have just bullied her way into the starting lineup for the rest of her St. Martin's career. In scoring 41 total points last weekend, she looked absolutely dazzling. The lights were not too bright at all for her in the first two starts of her career. The other mainstay in the Saints starting lineup also put up some nice numbers last weekend. Tierney D. Dodonis looking very strong on the perimeter, averaging 13.5 points of her own. We'll take our first break of the pregame show as time winds closer to the opening tip of the Saints women's basketball GNAC matchup with Western Washington. When we come back from the break, we'll preview the Saints opponent for tonight and, of course, a very happy welcome home to a particular local legend here around these parts. We'll preview that in just a moment on the other side of this break.
Every time a student learns something new, makes a discovery, or helps a team, it's not just good for that student, it's good for the whole community. At St. Martin's University, we know the impact a well-prepared graduate can have on the world. That's why last year, we extended more than $15 million in scholarships to our students. Because the more we invest in them, the brighter the future becomes for all of us.
And welcome back into the St. Martin's women's basketball pregame show. It's time now for a quick look at tonight's opponent for the Saints. Now, as we mentioned at the outset, this is the very first game of the season for the Vikings, as they have only just recently hit the unpause button on all basketball-related activities. It will be their first game in nearly a year, their last game coming last March in the GNAC Tournament Championship game against Alaska Anchorage. Vikings, they wound up finishing their season with an impressive overall mark of 22-9, including a GNAC record of 14-6. Despite the loss to Anchorage in the championship game, the Vikings received an at-large bid to the NCAA Division II National Tournament, but their first-round game, also against Alaska Anchorage, was canceled when COVID-19 derailed pretty much all college basketball postseason opportunities nearly a year ago. So where do they stand as they get set to embark on their mini-season that will include 6 games across the next 3 weekends? Well, for starters, they bring back plenty of firepower from last season's team. Now, gone from this program a season ago are 2 big pieces in Anna Schwecke and Lexi Bland, but the cupboard is hardly bare for Vikings head coach and really coaching legend Carmen Dolfo as she enters her 30th season at the helm in Bellingham. One player I'm sure the Vikings are extremely happy to see back in uniform, and frankly, so are we, is Danny Iwami, a vastly talented guard who has missed significant stretches of time in each of the past 2 seasons due to injury, but she is an absolute warrior, and we wish her success and health, of course, as well, both this season and beyond. There are so many other familiar names on this roster: Kelsey Rogers, Molly Olson, Gracie Castaneda, Katrina Jamaica, and of course, local product Emma Duff, who prepped right down the street from here at Black Hills High School in Tumwater. One of my favorite things about calling Saints games the past few years has been the presence of the Emma Duff fan club, a contingent that always seems to be about 100 strong inside Marcus Pavilion. So for all of the Emma Duff fans tuning in locally, we wish you could be here tonight to root on your hometown hero. We certainly miss seeing you in here as much as we miss seeing our own great Saints fans inside Marcus Pavilion. We will step away for just a moment. This has been the St. Martin's Women's Basketball Pregame Show on the GNAC Digital Network. And welcome back inside Marcus Pavilion. We are mere moments away from tip-off Let's go ahead and get you some starting lineups. First for the visiting Vikings. Again, this is their first game on the court in nearly a year, so they come in 0-0. In the starting lineup tonight, number 1, Avery Dykstra, a 5'10 junior from Everson. Also in the starting lineup, and we are happy to see here, number 10, Danny Iwami, the 5'8 senior from Seal Beach, California. And, of course, Emma Duff, the 6' senior from right here in Tumwater in the starting lineup tonight, alongside number 15, Kelsey Rogers. She's a 6'1 senior from Bothell. Rounding out the starting 5, number 32, Molly Olson, a 5'9 junior from Napavine. And for the Saints, it's the same starting lineup that they went with last weekend, the brand new look lineup for the Saints. In the backcourt, number 1, Tierney DeDonis, the 5'6 senior from Cave Creek, Arizona. Joined in the backcourt by number 25, Marin Budeman, the 5'9 junior from Vancouver, and the transfer from Cal Baptist. Up front for the Saints, number 21, Mallory Vavola, the 5'11 senior from Anthem. Number 22, Ryan Clear, the 5'10 freshman from Pullman. Will she be in the starting lineup for the rest of her 4-year career at St. Martin's? We'll see. And, of course, rounding out the starting 5, the All-America candidate, number 14, Claire Dingus, averaging a double-double coming in tonight, the 6' junior from Spokane Valley. Well, we've got a coaching legend in the house in Carmen Dolfo, a coaching legend in the making in Christy Martin. Austin, this is going to be a fun one for sure. This is kind of an interesting game. This being their first game, you mentioned this in the pregame show. Will they be rusty tonight? Sure, but it's only natural that they will be for at least the first few moments of tonight's game. However, at some point, basketball instincts and talent, they just take over. This is a team with a lot of talent, a lot of depth, and it won't take them long to find the gear in which they're most comfortable playing for the rest of the night.
Yeah, I think the Saints are going to try and push the tempo immediately at the start of the game. They're going to want to get out, run, and try and put the Vikings on their heels to start.
Like it.
Carmen Dolfo, you know she's going to have her team prepared regardless of almost 365 days off. They're going to be ready here to start. I think it's going to be a great game. Claire Dingus, how quick does she get into the scoring ledger? Do the Saints turn to their all-conference players?
And let's not forget, this is a revenge game for the Vikings. This is a team that came into Marcus Pavilion almost exactly a year ago tonight, having won 6 straight games on the season and 24 games straight against the Saints overall. That all came crashing down when the Saints marched out of here with a 71-63 victory. The Saints' first win against Western Washington in 12 years. That was a heck of a game. That was so much fun to call. Man, oh man, Marcus Pavilion came alive that night. So Western Washington, their traditional navy blues. The Saints in the home grays here this evening. A little bit of confusion. A tie-up on the jump ball, so we'll reset and reload for a brand new jump ball. Vavola for the Saints. Taps it toward Dingus. It trickles out of bounds here in front of us. And it will go to St. Martin's. So an antithetical beginning to this game, but we are set to go. This is exciting stuff. DeDonis steers it into the front court, dumps it off for Vavola, angles a pass across into the hands of Ryan Clear. They reverse it back to Dingus. Now Vavola in the corner, 13 on the shot clock as Budeman drives. Kicks to the corner. Ryan Clear sets her feet. Fires for 3. A little strong. Weak side rebound corralled by Molly Olson. She'll bring it the other way. So good to see Danny Iwami back on the floor for Western Washington. Each of the last 2 seasons cut short by foot injuries. Marin Budeman with the quick hands, able to knock it away. And our first turnover of the game charged against the Vikings on their first possession. Nice little look inside from Ryan Clear for Claire Dingus, but she can't handle the pass. It rolls off her hands out of bounds. So a turnover to get things started for either side.
Yeah, something I've noticed in the opening 2 possessions for the Saints, they're having Ryan Clear flare out to the corners this time. Something we didn't see against Northwest last week. She is a good shooter from the outside, but she really got a lot of her work done inside the paint last week.
Kelsey Rogers goes to work. Nice little turnaround fadeaway 8-footer from Rogers will fall over Vavola. And Western Washington on the board first. They lead it 2-0. Clear reverses. Vavola drives. Double team collapses on her, so she drops it off for Dingus. DeDonis between the circles, under 10 on the shot clock. Dingus comes out to set the screen. Into the high post for Dingus. 4 on the shot clock. Her 11-footer won't fall. Rebound cleared by Western. So a slow start for the Saints in the game's opening moments. Dykstra down low, pinned against the baseline, just totally hemmed in. Able to kick to the corner. But Iwami travels with the basketball.
Yeah, Vikings don't seem afraid to want to get out and run either. I thought maybe they'd want to try and slow this game down, get their legs under them, that feel. Instead, they want to run and gun as well. This is going to be a fun basketball game tonight.
Defensive switch, little mismatch right here. Dingus looking to take advantage. Gets to the rack, lays it in, and ties the game. Great little two-man game between Dee Adonis and Claire Dingus. The defensive mismatch. Dingus will own that mismatch all day long. Comes in tonight averaging 17 points and 10 boards per game. Duff cut off. Make it Olsen with the ball. Now it's Iwami on the drive. Pulls up at the free throw line. Now kicks back to Duff. Her three on the way off the back iron. Weak side rebound. Ryan Clear. Clear races ahead. Hesitates for a moment. Now jumps to the corner. Budeman on the drive. Leaves it for Dingus. Goes glass it in. Back-to-back buckets for Claire Dingus and the Saints with their first lead of the game at 4-2. Good transition efficiency for St. Martin's.
It's exactly what they love to do. Get those forwards like Ryan Clear and Claire Dingus out in transition and let them work against defenses that don't have their feet set.
Early St. Martin's lead doesn't last long as Olsen gets free. Knocks down a three at the top of the key, and the Western back on top 5-4. Dingus forcing her defender down low. Travels with the basketball. Interesting call. Looked like Dingus was still moving when the ball was on its way to her. I think that sort of confused the referee for a moment because Claire had barely had the ball in her hands when the whistle blew. Nevertheless, it's the third turnover on St. Martin's. Back comes Olsen. Accelerates around Dee Adonis. Gets to the rack. Tough angled shot. Won't fall, but she's fouled, and she'll head to the line. Nice little hesitation move. And then she just turns on the gas. Molly Olsen earns a trip to the free throw line for Western Washington.
Well, we saw a lot last week against Northwest. Saints who were willing to go to their bench early. Here at the start of this game, they're sticking with their five on the floor. But Eternity Reed, she had two big games last week. I don't expect her to be on that bench for much longer. I think maybe around that media timeout here in the next minute or so, she's going to be on the floor. And if you haven't seen her play this year, she's going to be her and Ryan Clear, freshman combos. It's scary how good those two are going to be.
Yeah, Ryan Clear, we talked about it a little bit in the pregame show. Averaged 20.5 points last week in her first two starts for the Saints. It's going to be awfully tough to get her out of that starting lineup going forward if she continues to produce like that. We've got our first subs into the game for Western. Carly Zaragoza checks in. And Western picks up a little bit of pressure in backcourt. Dee Adonis crosses over, gets to the rack. Tough shot. The leader won't fall. Rebound batted around. Gobbled up by the Vikings. They bring it quickly the other way. Hesitation move from Iwami. Kicks to the corner. Duff had position for a moment. Lost the ball. Wounds up back with Avery Dykstra. She's fouled on the drive.
Well, I want to go back to that missed shot. Emma Duff grabbing that board down low. She had Claire Dingus all over her. 9 times out of 10, Claire wins that battle. That was a great rebound from Duff, and it allowed the Vikings to get out into transition quickly.
By the way, Austin, how are your fingers and toes? Are you unthawed yet?
Hands are a little bit
They're
red, as
purple.
You can see.
My goodness.
Yeah, we just came in from doubleheader baseball.
That's right. So Austin and I, we were cutting it close. We had the first St. Martin's baseball games of the season. We were just across the street over at Saints baseball field working the Saints doubleheader against Central Washington. Saints able to salvage a split. They dropped the first game 10-8, but I believe they must have won 6-4 in the nightcap. I actually had to get over here, so I couldn't even finish the game. But Austin got in here. We were able to get a pregame show just under the wire. Dee Adonis nearly travels, tried to whistle a pass back outside to Dingus. It'll stay at the Saints end with 14 seconds showing on the shot clock. 9-4 our score if you're just joining us. Kind of a ragged start for both teams. Not too surprising for Western, considering this is their first game of 2021, their first game in nearly a year together. Still, though, they have worked their way out to a 5-point early lead. On the drive, this is Budeman. Lefty shot won't fall, leaves it short. Rebound comes down to Castaneda. And here comes Iwami. Looking down low. Instead, reverses back into the hands of Zaragoza. Another foul called on the Saints. This one away from the ball, down near the baseline. And a couple of subs checking in for either side. Janelle Sutterlicht onto the floor. Replaces Dee Adonis. Back on the floor comes Molly Olson after a short trip to the bench. And Danny Iwami will give way. So keep it at the western end. 23 on the shot clock. Near side. This is Olson looking down low. Gets a pass into the hands. Wide open look for Zaragoza. Couldn't get it to fall, but able to put it back. And Western Washington now with an 11-4 lead.
It's a mismatch that the Vikings have on the offensive end. Be interesting to see, will the Saints adjust maybe and try and go with Emily Nelson on the floor against this matchup, or will they continue to play small?
Here's Dingus down low, but she's pinned down. Eternity Reed on the drive. Barrels into a defender. The shot will go, and she'll head to the line. The and one opportunity for Eternity Reed. I think the defender must have had a foot inside the restricted area because it looked like they had established good position down there. But in that restricted area, you cannot draw the charge. And Eternity Reed makes the Vikings pay. That's the first foul of the game on Western. It's whistled against Avery Dykstra.
Well, we go back to Eternity Reed, pull her off the bench, and she's able to come in and immediately take the wind out of the sails of Western Washington with that play right there. Now the Saints can kind of relax, and here we go. Emily Nelson down low. That's going to be a battle you're going to want to watch tonight. Those two are going to fight for every inch in the paint.
This is Castaneda on the drive, but she's cut off by Clear. Now Olson looks to drive. Penetrates, gets to the free throw line. Air ball on the shot. Clear saves it inbounds into the hands of Eternity Reed. Halfway through the first quarter, Saints trail by 4. Sutterlicht accelerates right to the rack, leaves it for Dingus. Her pass across the lane winds up in the hands of Molly Olson, and the Vikings look to push. Castaneda kicks back, and traveling the call on Molly Olson will bring us to a stoppage in play. 4:40 remains in the first quarter. Western Washington with the early 11-7 lead.
Opportunity to me means doing the things that will make you a better future. I always dreamed of graduating from college. So being the first one in my family to graduate, it meant everything my parents sacrificed was paying off. Having an athletic scholarship for the University of Mount Olive was key for my success. I had the opportunity to not only get an education, but be able to develop as an individual.
And welcome back inside Marcus Pavilion. Jeff Lucero and Austin Burns here with you on the call. And we are slowly kind of getting the feeling in our fingers and toes back. It was chilly. I mean, downright cold out there at Saints baseball field. But you know what? It's the best kind of cold you can feel because we're getting to watch sports. Other parts of the country still aren't. Almost all of the state of Oregon still isn't competing at the D2 and D3 level. So, really, we're very fortunate even to be having these games played at all. And I'm sure Western Washington can relate to this. This being their first basketball game of the season, they just had to sit and watch as other GNAC programs unpaused. St. Martin's, Seattle Pacific, and Northwest Nazarene have been playing now for a couple of months. So, we're just so happy that Western Washington is able now to hit that unpause button and get out here and play some games.
Yeah, it's such a great rivalry. Again, dating back to that game last year where the Saints upset the Vikings. The atmosphere, when the Vikings and the Saints play inside Marcus Pavilion, the gym just has a different feel. Yeah. It gets so much louder. Obviously, we miss our fans. The cardboard cutouts, they're full. But we would love to have our fans instead. And so,
no doubt about it.
But again, it's great to have this rivalry renewed here in 2021.
Such an enormous victory for Coach Christy Martin when they were able to knock off the Vikings for the first time. They'd lost 24 straight games to Western Washington. Such a huge win for this program. Clear on the drive, lefty drive. Shot swatted away by Olson. She is a really good player, by the way. We'll talk about her tonight. She's so versatile, does so many things for this Western team. She actually not really called upon to score a lot, but she does lead Western early with 5 points so far here in the frame. She handles here on the near side, guarded by Dingus, 12 on the shot clock. Saints have played man-to-man this whole time. We will probably see that 1-3-1 at some point from St. Martin's. We'll see when Christy Martin decides to go to it. Long three on the way. That cast no good. Dingus tracks down the rebound. Sutterlicht on the drive. Leaves it short. A pile of bodies beneath the basket. Madison Coleman was the nearest to the ball, and a loose ball foul called against the Saints. That's their fourth now, so Western will be shooting a pair of foul shots with each subsequent foul here for the final 3:41 of the first quarter.
Yeah, Jeff, you brought up that 1-3-1 zone, and the Saints now look like maybe going, no, they're still sticking with the man-to-man. They had that shape for a second.
It did look like it for a moment, but then it dropped back into the man.
But like we said against Northwest, I think it's one of their highest efficiencies on the defensive end when they rotate to that zone. Christy Martin likes to keep it in that back pocket until her team absolutely has to go to it, though.
Kelsey Rogers with that soft touch. Kelsey Rogers, the leading returning scorer on this Vikings team. She's so efficient around the basket. Emily Nelson with good defense did a nice job of pushing her off the block. But Rogers just too good with that turnaround shot. Give her 4 points here in the quarter. Clear finds Nelson in the high post. Now Sutterlicht accelerates toward the baseline. Kicks to the corner. Dingus for three. No good. It rattles just out. But Ryan Clear with the offensive rebound. Shot swatted away once again. That's the second block of the quarter for Molly Olson. 5'10" point guard. Steps into a three. Got it. Molly Olson playing out of her dang mind here to start the first quarter of this game. Give her 8 points now with still 2.5 to play in the first quarter.
Jeff, you could fool me. This Vikings team looked like they've been in midseason form going into a tournament. I mean, they are on fire here in the first half.
They just weren't rusty for very long at all. A little ragged to start, but they are flowing right now. They lead it by 9. Nelson with good position down low. She travels with the basketball. So that now the fourth turnover already on St. Martin's with 2:17 to play in the first quarter. Saints now, there's still so much basketball left to play, but they're in a bit of a dangerous spot right here. Never want to fall behind by double digits in the first quarter of a game. Didadonis comes out to pick up Iwami back on the floor. Switches left to right. Illegal screen whistled against Kelsey Rogers. That's the third foul now on the Vikings in the quarter. So Sutterlicht just trying to fight through that screen. Rogers just lowered that shoulder just enough to send Sutterlicht sprawling. Lo Morris now checks in. She inbounds in front of us. Didadonis with a head down.
Morris started the year in the starting lineup, but then last few games has come off the bench. And again, we saw that game against Seattle U last year where she lit up for 20 points and then the injury happened. She never really got back to that form. We know the talent's there. It just has to start clicking for, again, the freshman, so young in her career. Long way to go. She could be a very talented Saint by the end of her career.
Nelson with good position. Tries to work her way around Rogers. But Rogers with good defensive position. Grabs the defensive rebound, and Dingus draws the offensive foul. Thought it was going to be whistled against Dingus for getting a little handsy as Hillary Duff started her drive, but Duff called for the push-off. Megan Jamaica called for the foul. So that is the first on Jamaica. So 4 fouls apiece with $1:26 showing on the first quarter clock. So more token pressure picked up here in backcourt by Western Washington. Didadonis able to cross the timeline with ease. Bavola works away from one side of the court to the other. Now Lauren Morris. Eternity Reed gets into the paint. Tries to get to the basket. Tough angled shot, gets it to fall. Eternity Reed just sort of bumping and jostling inside. Able to free herself just enough to get that shot off and gets it to fall. 16-9 our score, under a minute to play.
Yeah, it's Saints right there. Again, not afraid to go straight down low as there's the Vikings responding once again. It's really both sides have an advantage on that offensive end. Vikings have the size down low. Saints have the speed in their offensive set. And now this is a battle that's going to be, those two, there is no quit in either one of those. Tierney Diananis and Danny Uwami.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell they love the game, and they're out there competing 24/7.
That is the 5th foul, however, of the first quarter. So Diananis will head to the line for a pair of shots. It's just so good to see Iwami out there again. I know Western fans have to be just so elated just to see number 10 back on the floor. Part of an absolute warrior for sure. Danny Iwami only able to play about a combined 20 games across the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, Vikings just have a completely different feel when she's leading that offense, and her defense, I think, is something that's really underrated. She's so good defensively. She just constantly is on you. And as an offensive player, you're just trying to get a breath of space, and Iwami's just there 24/7.
Saints nearly turned it over. Almost a costly giveaway there. But Emma Duff unable to corral the pass. It rolls off her hands out of bounds. So a fortuitous break for St. Martin's. Shot clock off for the final 19 seconds of the first quarter. Sutherland comes back onto the floor. Nelson will check out.
Saints got a lot of three-point shooters on the field right now. I'd have to think maybe Mallory Vavola in the corner or Tierney Dianatis getting to the rim.
Yep, very small lineup on the floor for St. Martin's right now. Sutherland, 10 seconds on the clock. A couple of Saints come out to set the screen. Sutherland rolls off both, now gets to the cup. Tries to swing a pass to the corner, but she leads Budeman out of bounds. So another turnover for the Saints, their 5th of the period. Opportunity for the Vikings with 4 seconds left in the quarter. Olsen gets inside the three-point line. Her runner from about 16 feet won't fall. The banker would not go. And we sit now at 18-10, Vikings with the 8-point lead at the end of the first quarter. About was the Emma Duff fan club. So many of her family and friends and former teammates likely coming out to support her every single time Western Washington would come to town. Standout guard out of Black Hills High School. She ended her prep career with more than 1,200 points, averaged about 18.5 points and 7 rebounds. During her senior year, she was the Olympians 2016-17 All-Area Player of the Year. She helped lead Black Hills to back-to-back league titles as a junior and as a senior. 6th and 5th place finishes at the state tournament each of those 2 years as well. So Emma Duff, welcome back to Thurston County. No idea whether she'll opt to play another season next year. Remember, this is a total wash. All of these players earn an extra year of eligibility regardless of how many games they play this year. So remains to be seen whether Emma Duff will come back for another year at Western.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those. It's not just basketball. Fall sports as well had that option. Baseball and softball last year. It's a new challenge that all universities across the country are facing, trying to get their athletes. You want to be able to give them that last final good season. You don't want anything to be, just a few couple games and that's the end of your career. You want to give them that proper send-off. And luckily the NCAA allowed us to get that extra year of eligibility back.
Carly Zaragoza at the offensive end for the Vikings. Credit her now with 6 points here early in this game as Lauren Morris unable to hold on to the basketball on the drive. They just slipped right out of her hands as she was working her way to the rack. The 6th turnover on St. Martin's. How about the early effort from Carly Zaragoza? Give her credit actually for 4 points, excuse me. She's looked very good. She handles here in the high post. Blake comes to get it. Make it Olsen, excuse me. Zaragoza on the drive. Lefty shot will fall. All kinds of off balance on that one. But now Zaragoza has a half a dozen. And the Vikings extend the lead to 12, 22-10. All Vikes so far early in this thing. Offensive foul gives it right back to Western Washington. And Christy Martin, for the moment anyway, has seen enough. She'll call for a timeout at the 8:47 mark of the second quarter. Western Washington leads it 22-10 on the GNAC Digital Network.
Every time a student learns something new, makes a discovery, or helps a team, it's not just good for that student, it's good for the whole community. At St. Martin's University, we know the impact a well-prepared graduate can have on the world. That's why last year, we extended more than $15 million in scholarships to our students. Because the more we invest in them, the brighter the future becomes for all of us.
Hey, welcome back inside Marcus Pavilion. We're still trying to determine whether there was a foul called before Christy Martin signaled for the timeout. We'll find out. If Western has the ball, that means there was a foul called in before Christy could get that timeout signaled for. If St. Martin's has the basketball, there was no foul called. We'll know here in just a moment. Looks like the Saints will be inbounding at their end. So, yeah, no foul was called. St. Martin's basketball as we resume action. Dingus back on the floor. So it's Dingus, Eternity Reed, Nelson Sutterlicht, and Ryan Clear to inbounds. Finds Sutterlicht. Skips it back to Clear. Dingus with the ball above her head. Couple of lefty dribbles. Pulls up at the elbow. Kicks back to Sutterlicht. Down low for Emily Nelson with good position. Right under the basket. Lefty shot off glass is good. So Emily Nelson stems the tide. Nice little play drawn up by Christy Martin during the timeout at the defensive end. However, a total breakdown for the Saints, allowing Avery Dykstra to get to the basket all alone. She lays it up and in. And the Vikings doubling up on the Saints 24-12.
Yeah, Saints have made that cut a couple times with Emma Nelson, and there it is again. Emily Nelson just can't get that one to connect. But she goes so quick to the basket. That's such a hard move to stop, but that one just not falling for her.
Dykstra gets her feet set. That's his Riley Dykstra this time, the freshman sister of Avery Dykstra, and she knocks down the three. Making a long two, according to the scoreboard anyway. Here's a long three from Sutterlicht. That one rims out, but Eternity Reed the offensive rebound. Back to Nelson now, Ryan Clear with it. Nelson reverses to Eternity Reed. Clear comes to get it. Backing down on the defender. Her tough shot won't fall. Rebound, Molly Olsen. And Christy Martin was called for a technical foul. I think she was upset. There was a lot of contact on Emily Nelson beneath the Saints basket. There was no call. And Christy Martin is absolutely livid. But a technical foul called on Christy Martin. At this point, I think just trying to fire up her team more than anything.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
Going to bat
say.
for her players.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something you have to do, and you need to light that fire under your team. You're down by 14 at half. Western's come out. I mean, we weren't surprised, Jeff. You know, Carmen Dolfo, you know she's going to have her team ready to go regardless of how many days off, you know. And so Christy Martin, again, just trying to light that fire under her squad. Again, it is a younger team. You have to remember that. You know, as good as this team is, it is still a younger team. And for a couple of these players on the floor, this is their first time facing Western Washington. So you have to get used to that feel, but you can't wait super long because the Vikings will get out, and they do a good job making sure they don't let leads get away from them. They're a very smart, controlled team.
Emma Duff knocks down both technical free throws, so the lead extends now to 16 at 28-12. Rogers Had good position, instead decides to kick out. Katrina Jamaica just working her way to the basket. Able to create some space. And the Vikings all over the Saints now, 30-12, 18-point deficit for St. Martin's. They now have a mountain to climb to get back into this thing.
I think Claire Dingus needs a few more touches here. You got to get the ball into your best player's hand.
She cuts right here, but the defense just collapses right on her. Unable to get a shot off, and back comes Western Washington. Jamaica for three. That one misses everything. Dingus tracks down the rebound at the Vikings free throw line. Didadonis, the one-handed pass. Finds Nelson beneath the basket. Shot is good, and she'll go to the line. So good transition offense for the Saints. Now they just need to string together some stops as well. The last time that they got a basket in transition, they had a breakdown at the defensive end on the ensuing Western possession. So the Saints now just need to buckle it down on defense. Almost a little surprised we have not seen Christy Martin go to that 1-3-1. It's been so effective at times throughout the season.
Yeah, I think it just got signaled in. I think they're now bringing in maybe a pressure as well. If the Saints are able to make this basket, I think they're going to start going to some pressure, and I think that's the right call. And there it is. There's the diamond defense.
Emily Nelson knocks down the free throw. She's got 5 points. Gracie Castaneda just trips over the three-point line here in the near corner, in the short corner. Tried to roll a pass back to a teammate, but it rolls out of bounds. Western still very much in command. They lead at 30-15. Sutterlick picked up in backcourt by Castaneda. Hands it off to Eternity Reed. She bends around the three-point line. Now hands it off to Claire Dingus on the drive. Hemmed in along the baseline. Now kicks back out to Budeman. Eternity Reed finds Claire Dingus diving to the basket. Shot won't fall, but she'll head to the line. Fouled in the act, I believe, by Zaragoza. And it is. That's her second, and the team second here in the quarter.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite kind of plays right there is when Claire Dingus can get cutting towards the basket in the paint, get that catch, and go straight up with it. That's when obviously offensive board is her best style of game, but when she can get that cutting basket, that's really when she can thrive. And for the Saints, you see a lot more of that when they can get going quick in their offense before that shot clock hits about the 20-second mark is when those kind of opportunities are there.
Dingus good on the first of two free throws. Second on its way. It rolls out. Duff the rebound. And Iwami will steer it the other way for the Vikings. Looking down low for Rogers back on the floor. Goes to work on Nelson. Now kicks back out for Castaneda. They reverse it down to the near corner. This is Emma Duff. Guarded by Dingus. Heads toward the baseline. Tries to step through. Instead kicks back for Iwami. She drives. Pulls up just inside the paint. Late whistle coming. And they'll tag Didadonis with a foul on the mid-range jumper. Iwami will head to the line. So the Saints, for the last 4 points of the basketball game, able to now cut the lead back down to 14. But Iwami at the line, shooting two.
If you're the Saints, you don't need to erase this lead by any means going into the break. You just want to slowly, over the next 5 minutes and change, just start cutting down this lead. Get it down to around 7-8 points going into halftime. Start getting that momentum back onto your side. That's all. You don't have to try and take down the Vikings in just 5 minutes. You have 25 minutes to do it. Just slowly start cutting into that lead, and that starts on the defensive end.
Reed finds Sutterlick. Now Nelson nearly travels. Shot no good. Offensive foul whistle against Claire Dingus. I didn't really quite see what she did there.
Yeah, it's not very often Claire gets called on plays like that.
That's her first, but the Saints' fourth. 5.5 to play. The Vikings will be shooting two for the rest of the first half. Iwami finds Rogers. Her 18-footer won't fall. Eternity Reed unable to corral the long rebound. So it'll stay at the western end with 14 seconds showing on the shot clock. Saints never able to establish possession. In the melee, scrambling for the ball. Castaneda into inbound. Hawked by Eternity Reed. Wami comes to get it out near the scorer's table. They dump it in for Kelsey Rogers. Spins off of the hip of Emily Nelson. Shot won't fall as she hits the floor. Nelson the rebound into the hands now of Budeman. Accelerates toward the basket. Stops on a dime near the baseline. Bounce pass inside for Dingus. Tries to work her way around to Emma Duff. Winds up kind of getting her feet tangled up with Duff's. And earns the foul. Third on the Vikings. 4:50 to play here in the first half.
Saints defense starting to really lock down on the Vikings. And then again, in the offensive zone, they're going quick. They're not allowing Western Washington to set that defense, and they're trying to find the mismatch down low and get the cutting forward to the basket.
They look inside for Nelson. Double team collapses. Nearly loses it. Able to recover. Now Budeman pulls up from 14. Leaves it short. Nelson after the rebound, as is Dingus. Dingus ties up with Riley Dykstra beneath the basket. And it'll stay with the Saints. 20 seconds on the shot clock for St. Martin's.
That was a good job by Nelson down low. The moment she caught that ball, she felt two Vikings get around her, and she knows just get that ball out real quick, rotate around, find the better shot.
Kick ball gives it right back to the Saints. Saints shooting just 27% in this game. They're 6 of 22 from the floor. Have yet to connect on a three. They're 0 for 3 from deep. Conversely, look at the Vikings. 58%, 11 of 19. Hence this 30-16 advantage for Western Washington. Duff commits her second foul in a matter of seconds. And that's the last one for the Vikings. Saints now will be in the bonus going forward. Duff stays on the floor with those 2 fouls. Molly Olson will return for the Vikings. She leads all scorers, and by a bundle. She's got 11 first-half points. One thing she hasn't really done much yet so far in this game, she's only got 1 assist. Austin, Molly Olson had at least 7 assists in a game 9 different times last year.
Wow.
5'10" player with that kind of court vision, able to set up her teammates. At least 7 assists, 9 different times last season.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. You know, you kind of look for around 4 to 5 as an average is pretty dang good. It's going to put you at, up there on the NCAA leaderboards. You're starting to talk about that consistency. That's a floor general is what that is.
Yep, she averaged a little over 4 assists per game. She led the team. Lexi Bland was right behind her. Those two combined to average about 8.5 assists per game last year for the Vikings. Last year was kind of a bounce-back year for the Vikes. They've been, at least by their standards, down the last couple of seasons before that. But coming back last year, 22-9 record. It earned that at-large bid back to the NCAA D2 tournament. Dingus down low. Good position. Works her way around Olsen. Shot won't fall, but she'll head to the line. That's the first on Olsen. Olsen calling her own number a lot more tonight. Olsen doesn't look to score a lot, but maybe that's going to be a different course for her this season. Only averaged about 5.5 points per game last year to go with those 4 assists. But already with 11 points here in the first half.
Yeah, this Vikings team, I remember when I first started here at St. Martin's and she's a volunteer coach on the bench for the Vikings, Taylor Peacock.
Oh, my gosh.
All-American. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a better ball handler, either side, men, women.
Oh, yeah.
It was unbelievable watching her play, and when she left the program, you can't just replace that.
Yep.
It takes a little bit of time to rebuild from there. What a phenomenal basketball player Peacock was.
Yeah, 2 things about Peacock. She led Division II in scoring her senior year, 23.5 points per contest. Yeah, she's a volunteer assistant on the staff. By the way, I've already got a little feature prepared on the Western Washington staff. It is a who's who. I mean, an absolute all-star team on that coaching staff. We'll talk more about that at some point throughout tonight's broadcast. This is Molly Olsen once again dialing her own number. 13 first-half points for Molly Olsen. At the defensive end, she fouls Ryan Clear beneath the basket. That's her second. And Clear will go back to the line.
That's a big break for the Saints. I thought that one could have almost gone as another block for the Vikings. Instead, second foul on the leading scorer. So Saints here again, Final 4 minutes here of the half. Going to have to start locking down defensively.
Yep.
And, I would be curious to see if they want to go into that zone defense and maybe just try and give Western a different look and force them when they go into that halftime to be talking about that zone defense instead of, continuing to work on what they're doing well on the floor.
Clear unable to connect on either free throw. So we sit at 32-18, under 4 to play. Iwami looks to drive on Sutterlicht. Pulls up along the baseline. Tough shot won't fall. Eternity Reed gobbles it up. She brings it the other way for the Saints. Bounces a pass inside, intended for Dingus, picked out by Olsen. She runs out. No number, she backs it out, walks into a 14-footer. It won't fall. Clear after it. Tangles and ties up with Gracie Castaneda. The jump ball will keep it at the Western end as Emily Nelson comes back for the Saints. Eternity Reed gives way. Back on the floor for Western comes Riley Dykstra, and Olsen will take a seat with those 2 fouls. So he checked that. The ball actually heading back the other direction. Jump ball gives it back to St. Martin's. Sutterlick gets her marching orders from Christy Martin. Rolls off the high screen from Nelson. Down low for Emily. Goes to work on Kelsey Rogers, and Rogers whistled for the foul. So the Saints continuing to try to pound it down low with Emily Nelson. It's worked pretty well so far, that strategy.
Well, they're getting a lot of foul calls so far. I was just looking at the stats. Saints have only attempted 3 3-pointers. They're a team that usually likes to let it fly. They're one of the better 3-point shooting teams in the country in the upper half. But instead tonight, they really want to go down low. It's starting to rack up some fouls on the Vikings. And Carmen Dolfo is going to have to dip deep into that bench, I think, in the second half. If this trend continues, you're going to have to start managing time on the court for players to make sure you're not starting to run out in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, Duff's got 3 fouls now. We're unlikely to see her for the rest of the half. Rogers, Olsen, and Zaragoza all with 2 fouls apiece. Saints with some pressure in backcourt. It's disruptive enough to compel a jump ball. It'll stay with Western. It's now drop back. And it looks like we might see that 1-3-1. Look at Claire Dingus out at the top of it. Yep. With Emily Nelson checking out, yes, the Saints are going to this 1-3-1 defense. Let's keep an eye on this. It's the 3:05 mark here. Very different look. Saints nearly forced a turnover. Active hands from Ryan Clear. Down into the corner. And down low it comes for Dykstra. Unable to get a shot off. Kicks outside. 3 on the way. Castaneda won't fall. Long rebound tracked down in the corner by Avery Dykstra. Did she step out of bounds? I believe she must have. It's going back to St. Martin's. They've trailed by as many as 18 here in the first half. It's down to 12. They can cut it to 10, even 9 on this possession.
Again, Jeff, I said the Saints just need to be within 7-8 points going into halftime. That's just 2-3 more baskets and a couple stops, and you're right there.
Sutterlick works it across the timeline. Reed comes out to set the screen. Defensive switch, puts Coleman on her. They bounce it inside for Dingus. Double team comes. Now it's Vivola. She looks to drive. Pins the ball against her hip, loses control. Ball rolls into the hands of Monique Fierke fresh on the floor. Now Iwami sets the tone. Works her way back between the circles, guarded by Clear. Back to Iwami. Finds the cutter along the baseline. That's Madison Coleman. Her shot won't fall. Had a real good look at it. Just could not finish. Sutterlick works it the other way. Crosses over, steps back, has some space, buries the 17-footer, and the lead now down to 10. So this now a 10-2 run for St. Martin's. They trailed 30-12. It's now 32-22. Into the corner. 1-3-1 still working for the Saints. Soft spot on the defense. Coleman for 3. No good. Rebound gathered by Riley Dykstra. Tied up by Ryan Clear, and it'll go back to St. Martin's. So the Saints finding some life here. You're right, Austin. They are just kind of slowly sort of leaning on Western Washington in the closing moments here of the first half. just trying to erode away at that lead.
Yep, and really since that technical called on Chrissy Martin, Saints have been playing with a different bit of edge, really starting to fire up, and now here in the last minute 30, need another basket and a defensive stop, and I think you have the momentum going into halftime.
Lauren Morris needs help. Finds Dingus, bodied up by Monique Fierke, and she'll head to the line. So momentum continues to build for the Saints as we near the 1-minute mark of the second quarter. Claire Dingus at the line for a pair of foul shots.
Yeah, if there's been one aspect of Claire Dingus's game that really just hasn't been all American, all region level, it's been the free throw shooting. It's left some points at the line, but first one there was about as smooth as it can get. But Saints are going to have a lot of opportunities at the free throw line, I think, in the second half. They're going to have to be able to make use of that, especially with the clock stopped. And now it looks like can't tell if maybe there's some blood on a jersey or.
Yeah, something.
Stoppage.
That is Avery Dykstra. The Western trainer comes over to attend to her. It's like she's okay. She'll stay on the floor. So Dingus at the line, shooting 2. The 5 on the floor for the Saints. Eternity Reed, Ryan Clear, Janelle Sutherlicht, Low Morris, and Dingus at the line. Can't connect on the second. But the Saints have it under double digits now. It's 32-23 Western Washington. Just over a minute to play in the first half. Dingus at the top of that 1-3-1. Castaneda drives on her. Under 10 on the shot clock. Iwami steps back. Clear comes out to get her. Iwami into the paint. Tough angled shot won't fall. Rebound. Ryan Clear for the Saints. Saints can go 2 for 1 if they hustle. You know me, Austin. I love a good 2 for 1. Looks like it's not going to quite work out that way. About 15 on the shot clock as Sutherland goes to work. Rolls off the Eternity Reed screen. Now backs it out, dumps it off for Dingus. Into the corner now comes Low Morris. Whistles a pass back up top for Eternity Reed. She starts her drive. Has it deflected out of her hands. Couple of bodies hit the deck. Another jump ball. And the final 22.2 seconds, for the moment anyway, belong to Western Washington.
Yeah, even though a basket there would have been nice, this is important for the Saints. Have to get a defensive stop here and make the Vikings go into halftime questioning, how do we figure out this Saints new defense that they rolled out in the final 3-4 minutes of the second quarter?
Saints pick up full court pressure. Iwami able to clear the timeline. Dumps it to Fierke in the corner. Down low it comes, and Dingus picks it off. Saints now with a shot at the last shot. Sutherland steps back for 3 on the way, leaves it short. Low Morris, the offensive rebound, gets to the rack, lays it in, and it'll go. Yes, it will count. Lauren Morris beats the buzzer, and the Saints have trimmed 11 of those 18-point first half deficit points off the board. They now trail 32-25, Austin. This is exactly what you were hoping for. The Saints got it down to 7 just before the intermission break. So we will take an extended break here on the GNAC Digital Network. Please rejoin us in about 12 minutes time for a look at first half stats and a look ahead to second half action between the Saints and the Vikings on the GNAC Digital Network. And welcome back inside Marcus Pavilion. This is the St. Martin's Women's Basketball Halftime Show with Jeff Lucero alongside Austin Burns. We are continuing to thaw out after 7 hours of baseball across the way over at Saints Baseball Field inside Marcus Pavilion. It didn't take Western Washington long at all to warm up in tonight's game, especially if your name is Molly Olson. She's staked herself to a baker's dozen so far in this game. 13 points, 4 of 7 shooting, 2 of 2 from deep, and 3 of 4 at the foul line. Give her 13 points, 3 boards as well. Beyond her, Carly Zaragoza has 6 points, 4 points apiece as well for Dykstra and Kelsey Rogers. 46% shooting for the Vikings in the first half. They shot it 37% from behind the arc and 62% at the line. Out rebounding the Saints 20-17. For St. Martin's, it's no real secret what they've got to do to continue to get back into this game. They got to shoot it better. Just 32% in the first half, 8 of 25 from the floor. They missed on all 4 of their three-point attempts. They shot 9 of 14 at the foul line. Leading the way was Claire Dingus. She's got 8 points and 5 rebounds. 7 points as well for Emily Nelson. Eternity Reed chipping in with 5 points of her own. Claire Dingus and Ryan Clear each with 5 rebounds in this contest. So, yeah, Austin, Western Washington showed very few signs of rust. Maybe a couple early, but they blew out the cobwebs just in the first couple of possessions, and then they got it rolling. St. Martin's, however, able to eke their way back into this game, now a 7-point deficit. What do you think we'll see from either of these teams as we get set for second half action?
Well, I think the Saints, kind of looking at what they've done in their games past, they get that zone defense working, that you go into a timeout or halftime, and they come out of it. Why? Because the other side is trying to figure it out, and then all of a sudden you throw a different look at them when they're preparing for this look that's been shutting them down for the last few minutes. The Vikings, 4 minutes scoreless and 1 of 10 in their last field goal attempts, really struggled. And they had an opportunity to run away with this game. Saints locked down defensively. That zone switch really helped them out. And they're starting to connect on the offensive end. So it'll be interesting to see. I think the Saints will come out in a man-to-man. They're gonna go straight up and try and give the Vikings a different look. If I'm Western Washington, how long does Olson? Is she back on the floor immediately? It looks like she will be. So, 3 fouls. You're going to have to be careful. You don't want her to pick up that 4th foul right away.
Do they both have 3? Emma Duff has 3 in the first half as well.
Oh, correct. Yep. Thank you, Jeff. It'd be helpful if I could read. Yeah, no, only
Your
2
eyeballs
fouls.
haven't
Okay.
thought out yet.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, well, then you don't want her to pick up that 3rd foul, I guess is what I should have said. But no, having her back on the floor, she was really the spark. When she was going, Western Washington was rolling as an offense. I think it's going to be her and Iowami trying to get those 2 back into the flow.
It was 30-12 at one point in the second quarter. But as Dudley Dawson, member of the Lambda fraternity, pointed out on the commentary on the YouTube channel, it was a 13-2 run for the Saints after Christy Martin got teed up. Ryan Clear with the first bucket, and just like that, it's a 5-point game right out of the chute. Saints right back in this thing on the early offense, courtesy of Ryan Clear on the Saints' first possession of the second half. Duff on the drive, steps around Clear, shot no good. Duff make it Clear, bats the rebound into the hands of Dita Donna. She steers it the other way for the Saints. Head full of steam, pulls up in the lane. Floater won't fall off the back iron. Dingus can't corral the rebound. Kelsey Rogers can, and back comes Iwami the other way.
Yeah, and the Saints opened up in that man-to-man just like I thought they would. See how quickly do they switch back to the zone if Western starts figuring it out?
If that foul is on Emma Duff, that's her. Well, the scoreboard says 3, but official stats say 4. Well, we'll see. In any event, it's at least the 3rd, maybe the 4th foul for Emma Duff. Our stats say that's her 4th. Scoreboard in here says 3. Anyway, Saints possession. Here's Clear on the drive. Kelsey Rogers seals her off. She kicks back to Dita Donis. Gets into the paint. Her shot blocked by Avery Dykstra. Dita Donis is unable to get that shot off. Ball rolls out of bounds. It'll stay with the Saints. Clear inbounds. Tries to find Claire Dingus. but it is picked off by Jamaica, and back comes Western Washington. In transition, Danny Iwami brings it the other way. Lefty layup off glass is good. And at long last, Western Washington back in the scoring column. They lead at 34-27. Three from Vivola, no good, but she knew it right out of her hands. She races in, corrals the rebound off the side of the backboard, gathers it, and drops it in.
Heck, I'd be willing to give her an assist off that play.
It's almost like she threw an alley-oop to herself off the glass. Vivola the rebound, a quick outlet into the hands of DeDonis. Saints trail by 5, hunting points here. DeDonis bounces a pass inside, but it's a tough one. Double team collapses on Dingus quickly. That one just telegraphed. Here's Jamaica on the drive. Bodied by Budeman, who comes back inbounds to collect the rebound. She brings it the other way. No numbers. Finds Clear, however, beneath the basket. Dingus is on the weak side, and Clear will knock it back. It's a 3-point game, 34-31. The Saints very much alive here in Marcus Pavilion. They were showing few signs of life. Trailed 30-12. This now a 19-4 run for St. Martin's across about the last 6 or 7 minutes of game action. Dykstra on the drive. Pops to the corner. Jamaica sets her feet. Fires from 3. Got it. A much-needed bucket for Western Washington, courtesy of Katrina Jamaica. And that doubles the lead to 6 at 37-31. 7:10 to play here in the third quarter.
What I'm noticing on the defense for the Vikings is they're making sure Dingus can't beat them. They are doubling her every time she touches the ball. They really want the other players on the Saints to have to step up and come around, and that's what St. Martin's is doing right now, getting a lot of help from those other role players, and that's a huge effort for the Saints. It's been a team effort in this comeback.
Good defense there from Kelsey Rogers. She ties up Ryan Clear mid-air and earns the jump ball. Alternating possession gives it right back to Western Washington. Iwami pulls up along the baseline. Now feathers a pass back outside. Down low it comes to Rogers. Tries to roll around Emily Nelson. The net was hung up on the rim there for a moment when the shot was on its way. It fell down. Rebound Saints, here they come. Budeman kicks outside for Clear. Angles into the lane. Pulls up from about 13 feet. That shot just a little bit too strong. And Molly Olsen steers it the other way for Western Washington.
Saints are getting a lot of great looks. That one right there for Clear, that's exactly what Martin wants.
Wide open look there for Castaneda, but her three-point cast a bit strong. Suttler kicks to the corner. Three-pointer on the way from Budeman, but it's way too strong. Dingus gathers. Now Clear finds Nelson beneath the basket. Beautiful pass inside. And Carmen Dolfo needs a timeout. 5:58 left in the third quarter. And the Saints just continue to work their way back into this game. They now trail 37-33.
Every time a student learns something new, makes a discovery, or helps a team, it's not just good for that student, it's good for the whole community. At St. Martin's University, we know the impact a well-prepared graduate can have on the world. That's why last year, we extended more than $15 million in scholarships to our students. Because the more we invest in them, the brighter the future becomes for all of us.
Well, at one point in this game, the Saints had hit 6 of their first 22 shots. Well, guess what, folks? They have hit 6 of their last 12 shots now. That's a big part of why they now have been able to cut into this lead so significantly. Remember, they trailed by 18 at one point in this game. It's down to 4, 37-33. A big part of why St. Martin's is back in this game. It's really not that hard for even a dope like me to figure out, Austin. They are starting to make shots and play much more efficiently at the offensive end.
Yeah, and it's been a team effort. Emily Nelson leads the way with 9 points, but that's it. The Saints really have just been spreading the wealth around. They're finding the best shot. It doesn't matter who's getting it. And again, Claire Dingus, she's been absolutely double-teamed every offensive possession. Saints are stepping up as a whole right now.
Yeah, we're getting a look at what Dolfo drew up in the timeout. They brought it into the high post for Zaragoza. Nothing was doing. Now she has it. On the drive, Dingus reaches in and commits the foul. Make it Emily Nelson whistled for the foul. So our stats still say that Emily Duff has 4 fouls. The board still says 3. We're not quite sure which is correct. Inbounds comes for Zaragoza. Now Castaneda looks into the high post for Molly Olson. She goes to work. Drives on Moore. Shot no good. Morris the rebound. Pushes ahead. Has clear on the wing. Spins into the paint. Shot deflected nicely by Castaneda. Great defensive recovery for the Vikings, and back comes Molly Olson the other way. They look down low instantly for Zaragoza. Spins into the chest of Emily Nelson. Shot will fall, and she's fouled. Zaragoza having a nice little night for herself. That's her 4th bucket. She's got 8 points and will head to the line for the and one.
I want to go back to that transition defense by Castaneda.
Yeah, it was great.
What a job. She followed. She knew Clear was going to get the ball at one point. Iwawami cut over right about the 3-point line to take away the drive to the middle, so the Saints had to go to Clear. Castaneda seals perfectly.
Yep.
Great transition defense.
It looked like it was all set up for Clear, too. The way that the Saints were running the ball, but Castaneda with a tremendous recovery. She guards Clear once again here. Now switches on to Sutterlicht. Low Morris here on the near side. Eternity Reed back on the floor. Reverses into the hands of Clear. She's sealed off. Needs some help. Low Morris comes to get it. Crosses right to left. Gets to the rack. Lays it off. Glass it in. Low Morris with a beautiful drive. Saints back within 4. Look at Low Morris go to work. What a move that was from Lauren Morris.
Again, team effort. Everybody stepping up. Doesn't matter. Anyone who can contribute tonight.
At the other end, a tough angle shot will fall for Molly Olson. Draws the foul on Morris, and Molly Olson continues to have a spectacular night. Give her 15 points now on the night, and that'll bring us to a stoppage in play. We'll keep it here for just a moment, however, because this is kind of a fun one, folks. We talked about how the Western Washington coaching staff is kind of a who's who. First of all, Carmen Dolfo, Hall of Famer. Put her in right now. There's a ton of active coaches in the Hall of Fame. She's got 612 wins in 30 seasons. I say she's a Hall of Famer right now. Put her in the Hall of Fame. By the way, okay, so here it is. Listen to this, folks. This coaching staff for Western Washington will absolutely dazzle you. We already talked about how Taylor Peacock is a volunteer assistant on the staff. Well, guess who their other volunteer assistant is? How about Michaela Pivick, the all Pac-12 player from Oregon State and 2020 WNBA draftee, the first pick of the 3rd round in the WNBA draft, opted out of the WNBA and is now spending some time in Bellingham alongside Taylor Peacock, the former GNAC Player of the Year, first-team All-American who led the nation in scoring 4 years ago. Lexi Bland, who we mentioned at the outset of the broadcast on the pregame show as one of the 2 departed seniors from this team, along with Anna Schwecke. She, too, is on this staff. And then you've got Stacey Terrell, who was an absolutely dead-eye, just knock-em-down outside shooter. I think at one point, one season, averaged 48% from 3. How about that starting 5 right now? Put Carmen Dolfo on the floor with Stacey Terrell, Taylor Peacock, and Michaela Pivick and Lexi Bland. And heck, bring Hannah Carlson off the bench as their 6th man. I want Dolfo on the floor. Player coach for Dolfo for this whole thing. But Hannah Carlson, a 3-year starter at Northwest. She's no slouch herself, so it's an absolute all-star team on the bench. I think they could just about beat any GNAC team or any D2 team. Those 5 alone with Hannah Carlson off the bench. What do you think, Austin?
Oh, if I could be a fly on the wall at a Vikings practice and watch coaches versus players in a scrimmage, oh, that'd be a lot of fun. It's such a great coaching staff. And again, that's what Carmen Dolfo does. She brings in high-quality people. And that's why this Viking squad, year in and year out, is one of the premier programs in the country.
Well, they force a turnover at the Saints' end. Olsen pulls up at the elbow. They reverse it into the hands of Jamaica. Dingus goes to the floor. Jamaica pulls up for a long 2. It's no good. A strong rebound for Lauren Morris, and she'll push it the other way for St. Martin's. Into the near side front court. Now reverses back into the hands of Sutterlicht. Eternity Reed now in the corner in front of the Saints bench. Tries to get a pass inside. It's deflected right back into her hands by Zaragoza. 12 on the shot clock. Now it's stepped. It's Iwami stepping into the passing lane. Racing out, gets to the rack, lays it in. And just like that, Western Washington back out to a 9-point lead at 44-35. Saints just a little bit lazy on those ball reversals. Either a pump fake or a bounce pass sometimes makes all the difference. A little too predictable in that set. Dingus on the drive. Kicks to Morris. Thinks about a three. Now dumps it down to Dingus in the post. Tough shot. Won't fall. Dingus hits the deck. No call. Claire Dingus has not had any open, easy looks at the basket at all tonight. Western Washington all over her at every spot on the floor.
Yeah, credit a lot to the Vikings defense. Dingus has had her way with almost every team this year. Western has done the best job against her.
Iwami kicks to the corner. Mid-range jumper for Castaneda won't fall. Now Suttelicht on the run out. Sealed off by Iwami. Spins, finds Marin Budeman. Rolls off the screen. Kicks to Eternity Reed. Morris. And the Saints turn it over as Budeman unable to handle the pass. Dribbles on the sideline. Tierney Donis and Ryan Clear back on the floor. Suttelicht and Budeman take a seat for St. Martin's. 2:33 to play here in the third. Saints had whittled an 18-point deficit all the way down to 4, but now they trail by 5. Saints trailed only once in this ballgame at 4-2, or led only once at 4-2. Here's Rogers inside. She can't connect. Another strong rebound for Lauren Morris. She'll bring it ahead for St. Martin's. Picked up by Avery Dykstra. Donis looks inside for Dingus. Bodied up by Molly Olson. Continuing to play great at both ends of the floor. Clear nearly travels. Able to keep her feet. Needs help. Someone's got to come to get it. Eternity Reed does. Now it's Dingus along the baseline. Steps back. 6 on the shot clock. Reed gets into the paint. Wow, look at it. Absolute acceleration from Eternity Reed as she just had the full-on blow-by right there. Got to the rack. Shot wouldn't fall, but she'll head to the line.
Yeah, and I love that substitution by Christy Martin. Bringing Reed in, not only does it get you Dingus, Reed, and Clear all on the floor at once and allows you to go maybe to that 1-3-1 zone, which I think is coming here because we saw that pressure defense. I love that offensive capability with those three. You never know who's going to be cutting to the rim at any point. You have to have your head on a swivel if you're the Vikings.
Reed good on the second, but missed the first. So it's an 8-point game as Iwami comes back on for Western Washington. Molly Olson will take a seat. Olson having a spectacular night. 16 points at the offensive end, an absolutely suffocating defense on Claire Dingus, who, by the way, gives Western a taste of their own medicine. Dingus with the steal at the Saints' end. A little pressure in backcourt. Earns the turnover, dumps it off for Clear. The shot would not fall, but Ryan Clear heading right back to the free throw line. So Saints picking up some pressure, and it pays off.
Yeah, I think it was a good move by Christy Martin to come out of halftime in that man-to-man. You know, again, Western wasn't expecting that. It allowed you to close the gap, but now that Western had adjusted and started to widen open this lead again, now you can bring back to that zone, put Western back on their heels as they have. But the Saints have to convert at the free throw line. They're leaving too many free points there. I'm sure that's something that Christy Martin is going to look at after the game, and it's going to be a point of emphasis to her team.
Yeah, Clear unable to connect on either free throw. Wave off that Danny Iwami basket. It's Western basketball out of bounds as Tierney Donis ran right over Kelsey Rogers, the defender for Western Washington, setting the screen.
Well, and that's her fourth foul as well, so the Saints are going to be without their senior point guard for at least, I would say, at least 7-8 minutes of action here.
Not a big drop-off at all with Suttelicht coming back out onto the floor. Would love to see Suttelicht get it going at the offensive end this season. She had so many great games where she just absolutely dominated, particularly from outside. We've haven't quite seen the same kind of offensive ferocity from Suttelicht this season. Hoping that she'll just hit that gear at some point.
Yeah, a lot of talent, no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
She really has all-conference
And a truly special person, too.
Yeah, and no fault to her. She's a very unselfish basketball player. Loves being able to set her teammates up for success. But, we've seen she rolls off that screen, and if you have a, foot or two of space, I'd love to see her just go for that mid-range jumper. She's got such a great jump shot, something I think that will just continue to grow as she learns more experience on the floor.
Laura Morris crosses over on Rodgers, but Rodgers recovers, able to bat the ball away from her for a moment. Winds up now with Eternity Reed. Crosses over. 10 on the shot clock. Morris picks up her dribble. It's Ryan Clear fouled on the floor. So it'll be ball out of bounds to the Saints with 20 on the shot clock. That's the fourth foul on St. Martin's, or on Western Washington rather, here in the third quarter. Both teams shooting free throws for the rest of the period. Clear to trigger. Bounces it inside for Eternity Reed. They reverse it back to Clear. She drives, spins, gets to the rack, lays it in. Ryan Clear. I said spins, but that's because she kind of faked me out. A little head and shoulder, just enough of a hesitation. I thought she was going to spin. I was anticipating the spin. Instead, she just took it right to the rack, laid it in. And a turnover on Western Washington gives it back to St. Martin's, who, Austin,
here it
can
is.
go 2 for 1 if they so choose.
I think we need to create a 2-for-1 alert, and put that as a graphic on the broadcast.
I love it. I'm on board. I endorse such things. Eternity Reed, ball high above her head. Drives, fouled from behind. I believe it was Iwami on the reach-in. And it is. It will send Eternity Reed to the line. She split a pair there a moment ago. That's the second foul on Iwami.
That's the second time in this quarter that she's just blown right past the defender. She really has such a quick step, and I don't think people really have learned that. Again, just a freshman. I think a lot of teams, it's going to take them a little bit to figure that out, but it won't take long. Saints are going to, I think a lot of defenses are going to key in on how good she is offensively. She's an even better defender in my opinion, but her offensive game can really take, when it takes that next step, she's going to be again, reminds me a lot of Bria Timms.
Well, she knocks down both free throws and brings the Saints back within 5. 18 on the shot clock, about 9-second differential between shot and game clock. Iwami looks for Garagoza in the high post. Sets up Iwami in the corner. 3 on the way, no good. Rebound, Eternity Reed. It's batted out of bounds. Was there a foul?
I think they're going to say ball with the Vikings.
Going back to the Vikings. Tough break for the Saints. Reed with perfect rebounding position. Iwami now finds Emma Duff. Shot clock off for the final 10 seconds. Iwami steps back. 3 on the way. A little short. Emma Duff, the offensive rebound. Tries to muscle a shot up. It won't fall, but Emma Duff heading to the free throw line with 3 4/10 seconds left here in the third quarter.
You can't give a good team like Western Washington that many opportunities.
Not sure who that foul was called on. It says number 12 up on the board, but that is incorrect. There's no number 12 on the floor for the Saints, let alone on their roster. So it was actually on Eternity Reed. They have corrected that now. That is the third foul on Eternity Reed. Duff knocks down both foul shots. 7-point game. 3 4/10 seconds. Saints will have to go fast. Morris clears the timeline, gets a shot off just inside it. It's on its way. It's off the shot clock. We are heading to the fourth quarter. 30 minutes down, 10 yet to play. The Vikings with a 7-point lead. Come right back on the other side of this break for the fourth quarter between the Vikings and the Saints.
Opportunity to me means doing the things that will make you a better future. I always dreamed of graduating from college. So being the first one in my family to graduate, it meant everything my parents sacrificed was paying off. Having an athletic scholarship for the University of Mount Olive was key for my success. I had the opportunity to not only get an education, but be able to develop as an individual.
Our score, 48-41. This is the first of 2 games between these 2 teams. This one here at Marcus Pavilion. Tomorrow night's game, of course, back up in Bellingham. The Vikings will get their first home game of 2021 tomorrow night against the Saints. They will match up. Let's go back a year ago, though, because it was a huge fourth quarter for the Saints that earned them the best win of the past several seasons, really. And certainly the best win of Christy Martin's tenure last year. I don't remember what the score was going into the fourth quarter. All I know is the Saints played a near flawless fourth quarter against the Vikings to get that win and snap that losing streak against Western Washington. Austin, they're going to have to play just about near perfect basketball if they hope to win, as they trail by 7 with 10 minutes to play.
Yeah, Vikings have been a bend but don't break kind of night where – they let that lead get down to about 3 points, but then they rubber band right back and get to about 10. Saints are going to keep throwing punches. This game is far from over. I think the Saints got about 2 more good runs in this game to try and make a shot, but you have to take the lead in one of those runs, obviously, but you need it just for the mental aspect of we complete this comeback. Now we need to close out the game. If you can't just hang around that 2-3 point mark, you have to take the lead at 1 point and make Western look up at the scoreboard and go, wow, we had an 18-point lead at 1 point.
Yeah, one thing the Saints are really going to hope to do is knock down a 3. They've yet to connect. They are 0 for 6 from deep so far in this game. A 3 or 2 will definitely go a long way to helping vault the Saints right back into this game and narrow that margin. Saints ball to begin the fourth quarter. Let's see what Christy Martin drew up during the timeout. They get into the hands of Dingus on the isolation, but she's unable to get it going against Duff. Now with clear, 15 on the shot clock, plenty of time for Saints to operate. They look down low for Low Morris. Somehow that pass gets in. Sutherland able to fit the pass between 2 Western Washington defenders. And Morris fouled by Emma Duff. That is now her 4th foul. So Duff picks up the 4th foul 23 seconds into the fourth quarter. That'll send her back to the bench and hasten Avery Dykstra's return to the floor for Western Washington. Clear inbounds to Dingus up top between the circles. On the drive, it's either a travel or a foul. Which is it? It's a foul going against Western Washington. And that one's on Katrina Jamaica, her 3rd. So 2 quick fouls for Western Washington in the opening 26 seconds on the first possession of the fourth quarter for St. Martin's. Clear, able to get it inbounds to Sutherland, comes to get it. Now Reed at the top of the key. Bounces a pass toward the baseline into the hands of Dingus. Now gets it back. Clear flashes free for a moment in the paint. Now Dingus on the drive. Tough shot, won't fall. Morris, the offensive rebound, hammered on the putback, and she'll head to the line. How about Lauren Morris? She's provided a nice little spark here in the second half for the Saints. Not a ton of stats to show for it, but her play has really helped alter the course of this game for St. Martin's.
Well, I don't think that first opening minute could have gone any better for the Saints. You get not only 3 fouls on the Vikings and an opportunity here at the line, you're also going to put 2 of the better players in Molly Olson and Emma Duff onto the bench with 4 fouls, and they're going to have to sit for at least a few minutes, and this gives the Saints the golden opportunity to take the lead back in this game, start carving away at that lead. Couldn't have gone any better, in my opinion, the first, what would that be, 40 or I guess 33 seconds?
43. You're
43,
close.
Okay. It's been a long
Even a
day,
dummy
a
like
lot
me
of math.
can sort out that math. Well, you're not wrong. What do the kids say? No lies detected. Austin, you're right. 4 fouls apiece on Duff and Olson. Kind of a tricky spot for Western Washington. Iwami able to dribble into the paint. Lifts up a shot from 14. It won't fall. Ball rolls out of bounds. It'll stay with the Vikings. They've got possession and a 5-point lead. About a minute gone by here in the fourth quarter. Again, this is Western's first game of the season. You wouldn't know it based on how they've played. They've had the Saints relatively disoriented offensively for much of this game. Saints have never put any kind of an overwhelming scoring run together. The scoring run that they did have was largely put together because Western could not score for several minutes of the game. Western at one point went about 5 minutes without a single point. Zaragoza in the high post. Goes to work on Nelson. Rolls to the rack. Lays it up. No good. Those two go after the ball, and a jump ball called. Will keep it with the Vikings. I like what I've seen out of Carly Zaragoza tonight. She's a battler for sure. It's been fun to watch her and Emily Nelson go at it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you like good basketball, there you go. Those two, again, fighting for every inch down low. It's been a fun game to watch so far.
Castaneda on the drive. Good defense from Dingus, cuts her off. Jamaica a long three, leaves it short. Morris tracks down the board. A near giveaway by the Saints. Sutherland able to get it. Now hands it off for Lauren Morris. Looking down low for Nelson. Double team comes, leaves Ryan Clear all alone beneath the basket of the Saints within three at 48-45. Credit Emily Nelson for passing out of the double team to the wide open Ryan Clear.
Well, Emily Nelson once again really playing like a senior on the floor here tonight. This, I think, has been her best game in a Saints uniform this year.
She has been undaunted. That's a tough foul on Dingus. Avery Dykstra just lost her footing. Maybe there was a little bit of a bump there, but not much of one. I think Dykstra mostly just sort of tripped over the foul line as she started her drive. Nevertheless, it's Dingus' second foul, just the first on the Saints through the first 2 minutes and 11 seconds of the fourth quarter. Avery Dykstra momentarily had it. Now Castaneda. They look down low. Good position again for Zaragoza. Did she travel? She did! Saints earn another stop at the defensive end. They can draw even closer. They trail by just one possession. Kelsey Rogers will come back onto the floor for Zaragoza. Also on the floor is Madison Coleman. Sort of a little used reserve, so a very different look to this lineup right now for Western Washington here in crunch time. Saints trail by 3. Can pull within 1 or even tie the game. They've yet to make a 3 in this ball game. They reverse it around the top of the defense. Nearly stolen away by Castaneda. 7 on the shot clock. Back to Morris. Looking inside at Sutherland on the drive. One dribble. Shot is up. It's a little strong. Dingus after the rebound. It rolls out of bounds. I thought it was off Madison Coleman, but the referee saw it otherwise. Saints last to touch it. Ooh. And is that Claire Dingus slow to get up? It is. Maybe she's just a little bit winded. Well, she's kind of hobbling just a little. You know, if Claire Dingus is hobbling at all, it must be a little bit serious because she is a warrior. Yeah. Indomitable. Let's hope for all the world that Claire Dingus is okay. She's up on her feet, which is, of course, a great sign, walking under her own power. She will sit out for a moment and be tended to over on the Saints bench. So we'll keep an eye on that situation. Replaced on the floor by Eternity Reed. Iwami zips a pass into the hands of Avery Dykstra. Dykstra gets it back. They look down low for Rogers. Works her way into the paint. Taken away by Lauren Morris. Look at the help side defense from Lo Morris. Continuing to play very, very well tonight. Another sterling effort. However, that pass sails right up and over the head through the hands of Emily Nelson. A tough one to handle. But how about Lauren Morris coming over with the help side defense? Earns the steal and an extra possession for the Saints. It's an empty trip. So we sit at 48-45, about 6.5 to play now in this contest.
Yeah, Lauren Morris has been the best player for the Saints tonight, in my opinion. Really has done it all. Just only 6 points, but those 7 rebounds have been key.
Another good defensive play here. More good help defense. Iwani on the drive, pulls up from 18. Shot rattles around, no good. Emily Nelson covers up for the Saints. Lo Morris brings it the other way. Clear with it, into the corner for Sutherland. Clear loses control right into the hands of Madison Coleman. Another costly turnover for St. Martin's. It's Avery Dykstra on the run out. She's hammered to the floor by Ryan Clear. She'll head to the line for 2 shots. That's really a good foul in transition if you're Ryan Clear. I'm perfectly okay with that. That's just good, hard-nosed basketball. You got to earn it. And Ryan Clear is certainly going to make Avery Dykstra do exactly that at the foul line.
Yeah, if I'm St. Martin's, though, I may even think about it. I know you got a media timeout here in the next 56 seconds, but I almost want to call a timeout. My offense right now has committed a couple turnovers in a row. You're getting close to the point of Duff and Olsen coming back onto the floor. You got to make your move now, in my opinion. So, those turnovers have been so costly. I'd almost want to call a timeout here and reset my offense.
16 turnovers for the Saints, 12 for the Vikings. Both free throws connected by Avery Dykstra after the hard foul applied by Ryan Clear. Morris looks at it, Reed in the high post for the moment. Instead gives it off for Sutterlicht. Now gets it back. Sutterlicht, one dribble and a pass to Clear. Moves down to the near side corner, gets it back. 3 seconds on the shot clock. Saints got to hurry. And bailed out was Ryan Clear on the foul with 1 second on the shot clock. Clear wasn't even going to attempt a shot. The shot clock would have expired. I don't believe Emily Nelson could have gotten a shot off before the shot clock went off there. But a bailout foul called on Danny Iwami, her third, the team's fourth. So the Saints will be in the bonus for the final 5:26 of this game. And here's a very encouraging sign for the Saints. Claire Dingus racing over to the scorer's table, checking back in for St. Martin's. Not surprised at all to see her back on the floor, ready to give it her all for the final 5.5 minutes. Great sign for St. Martin's.
Yeah, 5-minute game or 5-point game against the Vikings, and you're telling me Claire Dingus is going to be on the bench? No, there's nothing in this world that's going to stop her from being on the floor.
Well, Lo Morris commits the offensive foul, her second, team's third. 5-point game. Gosh, just feels like the Saints are just right on the cusp, and they just have not been able to break through. They led it 4-2, and that is their only lead here tonight in this game. Iwami fires from 3. Looks long, and it is. Sutterlick with a good box out. Chase down in the corner, and a loose ball foul called against Western Washington will send Janelle Sutterlick to the line. That's the 5th foul of the quarter. And so Sutterlick will be shooting 2. There's a little bit of confusion. Saints were looking to inbound right there, but nope. That is the 5th foul. They are in the bonus.
Yeah, right there. It could not have been a bigger break for the Saints, in my opinion, because you've turned the ball over, I believe, 3 or 4 of the last couple possessions. Now you get a chance to, get some points back on the board right before this media timeout. Get a stop here. Put 2 up on the board. That's huge.
And back on the floor is Molly Olsen with those 4 fouls. It's Iwami taking a seat. I'm a little surprised to see Iwami get a spell right here, but maybe they just want to give her a quick blow right before that media timeout that you're talking about. It will come at the first dead ball under 5 minutes. Olsen moves the ball across the timeline. Defers to Avery Dykstra, gets it back, starts her drive. Pass across the lane into the hands of Rogers. Steps around the defender. Shot won't fall. Nelson the rebound. 3-point game. Can the Saints break through on this drive? They get the ball into the hands of Dingus. Shot won't fall, but Claire Dingus heading to the line after this timeout. 4:42 to play in this game. It'll be Claire Dingus at the foul line when we return. Hold on to your hats, folks. Buckle in. The end of this game is going to be a doozy. 50-47 our score on the GNAC Digital Network.
Every time a student learns something new, makes a discovery, or helps a team, it's not just good for that student, it's good for the whole community. At St. Martin's University, we know the impact a well-prepared graduate can have on the world. That's why last year, we extended more than $15 million in scholarships to our students. Because the more we invest in them, the brighter the future becomes for all of us.
4 minutes and 42 seconds left to go in this thing. We still only have one player in double figure scoring in this game. It's Molly Olson for the Vikings. She's got 16, but she was in double figures about a couple of minutes into the second quarter. So she's been relatively quiet here since then, having scored 11 points in the game's first 11 minutes, just 5 points since then. But she still, to this moment anyway, is the game's only double-digit scorer. Claire Dingus has the opportunity to join her. She's got 8 points on the night, and she heads to the line to shoot 2.
Jeff, the only thing we're missing in this game, we got a great rivalry. We got great defense. We've had some good offensive plays. Coming down to the wire, we're just missing the crowd. That's the only thing we're missing tonight. What a ball game between these two. Western Washington, no rust on the wheels at all, in my opinion. They look good. And the Saints, again, that free throw line continuing to be the Achilles heel for this team right now.
You know what's interesting? Dingus is a freshman, shot about 88%. She's actually sort of slowly, I don't want to say gotten worse at the line, but that's really kind of what it is. And she misses 2 right there. Now just 4 of 8 at the free throw line here tonight. That 3, if it falls, could be a game changer, but it won't go down. It pops out, and Nelson able to track down the rebound, and the Saints with another opportunity to get within 1 or even tie. Remember, they still have yet to make a 3 in this game. They haven't attempted one in a long time. Pass inside for Dingus. Goes glass, lays it in. What a look inside from Janelle Sutterlicht. Western Washington just got caught. That pass just feathered up over the top. Dingus with a beautiful back cut. Just came from nowhere. I didn't see that developing at all. But Dingus there gathers it in, sets her feet, knocks it home, and it's a 1-point game, Austin. Holy smokes.
Yeah, Janelle's just looking like Patrick Mahomes right now out there. She's just rifling that ball.
You know, I love
soft.
that reference.
Oh, absolutely. Just nice soft touches. It's a couple great plays from Janelle. And again, that's trusting Claire to be able to go up and get that ball is what that play was right there. That's something that you have to have worked on multiple times. That's not something you just look and see. You've worked on that. So again, the Saints continuing to just chip away, but they gotta here. They gotta, I think, in the next possession, they gotta get the lead. I really do. You need that on Western Washington to look up at the scoreboard for the first time in a long time and go, we're not in control of this game anymore.
You know what I love, too, about that possession is, Claire was absolutely just irate with herself for missing both of those free throws, to be able to then gather in that pass and pay it off the beautiful feed inside, just feathered up over the top by Sutterlicht. On the drive, it's Olsen, gets to the rack, lays it up, and she's fouled. Well, credit the Hall of Famer, Carmen Dolfo. She knew exactly who to go to, dialed Molly Olsen up, said, hey, go get me a basket. She does exactly that, and then earns an and one in the process. That right there is why Carmen Dolfo deserves to be in the NCAA Hall of Fame without question.
Yeah, she turns to her hottest hand on the floor. What was working well. Nice cut right to the basket. Saints once again, though. Opportunity here. Nearly a turnover. Morris is, I would say millimeters away.
The heel nearly stepped on the timeline. It's clear, but it's a basket. Tough shot won't fall. As she hits the deck, she'll get back to her feet and head to the line. By the way, at the other end, it was Olsen unable to complete the and one, so it remains a one-possession game with about 3.5 minutes left. And Clear will head to the free throw line for St. Martin's.
Well, and also the importance of not just getting the points on the board from the free throws, but when you make them, it allows the Saints to set up that trap defense that the Vikings have had a little bit of an issue with tonight. So really, I think that's what the Saints are missing. Obviously you want the points, but that really has been hurting them as well, not being able to set up that pressure.
Well, Claire splits a pair, but Claire Dingus the offensive rebound off the miss. So it'll stay at the Saints end. Huge offensive rebound for Claire Dingus, as she now has another double-double on the season. Beautiful block inside by Molly Olsen on the drive by Lauren Morris. She handles here. Now hands it off for Duff, gets it back. They look inside for Rogers, but it's not happening. With Emily Nelson draped all over. Avery Dykstra on the drive, nearly travels. Kicks outside, 3 on the way, no good. Rebound knocked around for a moment. Claire Dingus covers up, and back come the Saints. 2-point game, under 3 to play. Sutherland comes to get it. Guarded up top by Iwami. Back on the floor for the Vikings. Morris rolls off the screen. Nelson flashed open for a moment, but Morris didn't see her. Morris gets it back. Trying to go to Nelson inside. Can't establish position, so Clear's got to go to work. Shot clock set to expire, and Christy Martin wisely calls a timeout. It's going to be tough for the Saints to get a shot off, and they'll only have 3 seconds to do so out of this timeout. Austin, with 3 seconds on the shot clock, what do you want to see from the Saints on this inbounds play?
Well, I think they're going to look for a quick flash to the basket. And if that's not there, now you're going to roll off of a screen and you're going to look for that three-pointer maybe over into the corner or up towards the top of the key. And with the personnel on the floor, it doesn't look like the Saints subbed anyone in. So with the personnel on the floor, my thought is they're looking for that cut to the basket straight off the inbounds.
Well, they'll have to operate quickly. This much is true. Just 3 seconds showing on the shot clock. We'll see what Christy Martin drew up with her team huddled around her out on the floor. It'll be Suttelick to trigger it here on the near side in front of us. Dykstra guards her. Gets it into Clear. Got to go quickly. Suttelick gets it back. Got to fire up a shot. She will, but it'll miss everything, and that's a shot clock violation. Wave off that basket for Emily Nelson.
Nah, that was the Vikings. I don't think the Saints were expecting 2 Vikings to stay up at the top, and that's what threw that play off.
We sit at a 2-point game. Olsen kicked to the corner for Duff. It's been a quiet night for Emma Duff. No look pass inside 4 here. Tries to work her way around Emily Nelson. Now it's Avery Dykstra on the drive. Lefty shot off glass will fall. And Western back to the 4-point lead with exactly 2 minutes to play. Heck of a drive right there from Avery Dykstra.
Yeah, she used her body to shield the defender, open up a lane. Beautiful drive.
Yep, nice lefty finish. Earns a 2-possession lead for Western Washington. Down low it comes for Ryan Clear. Has good possession. Shot just will not go down. Nelson able to track down the rebound to keep it alive for the Saints. Over the top for Moore. She'll try for 3. Oh, if that had gone. Nelson another offensive rebound. Goes glass it in. Emily Nelson, right spot, right time, knocks it home for a huge shot, and the Saints right back within 2.
Nelson's just getting better and better. Unbelievable game from her. That was probably the biggest possession for the Saints tonight.
Iwami in the corner, guarded by Suttelick. Skips it over the top, into the hands of Dykstra. Starts her drive. Jump stop, kicks outside. Olsen skips to the corner. Duff on the drive, 8 on the shot clock. Shot knocked out of bounds. No! Suttelick able to reel it in. She'll bring it the other way. Saints can tie with a minute to play.
Got to get the ball in the hands of Claire Dingus. Once down low and then filter back out.
Well, they got her posted up right here on Dykstra. Mismatch. And Dingus just backs her down. Shot won't fall, but Claire Dingus with an opportunity to tie this game at the foul line. That's exactly what the Saints needed, that mismatch. You knew Claire was going to get the ball at some point. Almost surprised Western didn't try to switch back at some point, but there just wasn't time. And Dingus had already established position. And once she got the ball, you knew where she was headed, right to the rack.
Yeah, but right there, I think Western played that just how you wanted. Don't allow Claire to get up easy. Make her earn it at the free throw line. Able to connect on the first one. Again, the second one's big because it will allow the Saints to set up that zone or that pressure if they want it.
Oh, Dingus knocks them both down, and we are tied with 53 and 3/10 seconds remaining. Molly Olsen skips across the timeline, picks up her dribble, gives it off to Avery Dykstra. Into the corner for Iwami. Looking inside for Rogers. Making it Emma Duff on the drive. Reverses a shot up, no good. Rogers the offensive rebound. They work it around on the perimeter. Into the hands of Olsen. She drives to the baseline. Cut off there. Gets it inside to Rogers. Shot up and good. Western takes the lead right back. Shot clock off for the final 25 seconds of this game. And Iwami with a huge defensive play. Steps in the passing lane, knocks the ball away. It trickles off of Ryan Clear and rolls out of bounds. Possession right back to Western Washington.
Yeah, I think officials are going to go ahead and take a look at this one. I mean, you have to. It's just absolutely. But for the Saints, it's not like that's the end-all, be-all. You don't have a foul to give sitting at 4, so next foul puts the Vikings at the line. So you're going to have to play. You're going to have to play for that trap right off the inbounds. I think that's what Christy Martin has to be drawing up here is you don't have to foul right away. You're trying to trap the Vikings into the corner, and then if they're able to get that ball out and swing it around, that's when you then commit the foul and set up.
56-54 our score. That last bucket from Kelsey Rogers gives her 8 points on the night. Of course, none bigger than that one. And how about that defensive play from Iwami? The thing that's discouraging if you're a Saints fan, Ryan Clear put up no objection. She wasn't saying, I didn't touch the ball. There was no like demonstrative like, hey, whoa, I never touched that. So it looks like it will be Western basketball. I assume anyway. They might still be reviewing this thing. Not totally sure what's going on. The referee's still, now they're standing several feet away from the scorer's table. Continuing to look at a couple different angles here. We do have some angles that are not available on the broadcast that the referees can look at from a few other cameras here inside Marcus Pavilion. Well, assuming it's Western Washington basketball, I think you're right, Austin. You got to play for a quick turnover, but you do have to put them at the line. You've got to stop the clock. The shot clock's off for the final 25 seconds here. At some point, you either have to force a turnover or foul Western and hope the best they can do is split up the pair. And this would stay at a one-possession game.
Yeah, first the Saints. I think the move is, again, I'm looking at that pressure, and I think it's got to be Clear and Dingus right there at the top. Dingus, remember, she isn't just one of the best rebounders in the country. She's also one of the top steals getters in the entire country as well. She does such a good job of being able to just hop in front. So I assume Dingus is going to be right at the front. And it looked like they had signaled Western Washington basketball, and now I think they're taking another timeout is what I think the call is here.
Yeah, it was a referee's timeout for the review.
Yes.
And now Western takes the timeout at the back end of the officials' timeout just to continue to sort of talk things over and figure out strategy for this upcoming possession. Eternity Reed will check back in for the Saints. So we'll see who the five are that Christy Martin sends to the floor. We'll set that for you as soon as we have it. We'll do the same for the Vikes as well. 2-point game. 24.9 seconds left. Possession arrow favors St. Martin's. Both teams in the bonus. For the rest of, we'll call it regulation anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so the five on the floor for the Saints. It'll be Dingus, Clear, Eternity Reed, Morris, and Sutterlicht. It is Western basketball. Emma Duff to inbounds. Joined on the floor by Iwami, Olsen, Avery Dykstra, and Kelsey Rogers, who takes the inbounds. Saints are going to have to foul here if they're unable to force a turnover, which they have yet to do.
Saints got a foul now.
A lot of time coming off. Here's Emma Duff with it, and finally the foul applied by Eternity Reed, but a full 10 seconds come off the clock before the Saints are able to administer the foul. So still plenty of time, but you got to hope that Duff misses at least one of these two free throws. Jamaica will check back in. Rogers comes off the floor for the Vikings. And Emma Duff, the hometown product. Alumnus of Black Hills High School at the foul line. First free throw, no good. So it'll be at least a one-possession game if the Saints are able to control the rebound.
Yeah, I think Mallory Vavola has to come back onto the floor. Will the Saints get the sub is the question.
A timeout called by the Saints in order to advance the ball.
Yep, and make sure those substitutions get on the floor as well. So Mallory Vavola, leading three-point shooter for the Saints. Remember, at the beginning of the year, she was one of the best three-point shooters in the entire country. I think that's where you have to look. She's your best three-point shooter. You haven't hit one all night. That's got to be the look for me.
I was going to say, that's the good news is you've got good shooters on this team. The bad news is the Saints still without a made three tonight, just 0 for 7 now from beyond the arc.
And I think the Saints need to go in this shot process around that 8-second mark, 7-second mark. When you take your first shot, you want to get enough time so you can get an offensive rebound, kick out, and a second try. You're not waiting for that final shot, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's still enough time if you want, especially since you're able to advance the basketball here. You could look for a quick 2 and then try to draw a foul or get a turnover if you want. That's still an option with this much time, but it'll have to happen quickly if the Saints want to do that. Otherwise, yes, you're better off kind of working, trying to find somebody for a good look at a 3. It gets into Vivola, can't shake free of the defender. Now Lauren Morris steps back for 3. It's blocked. Dingus after the rebound, as is Emma Duff. It's not controlled. It's knocked out of bounds by Emma Duff. It will stay with St. Martin's with 5 2/10 seconds now, and another timeout called by Christy Martin. So Lo Morris, credit the defense. I didn't see who got a hand to that shot, but it was Lo Morris had a little bit slow release on that 3-point attempt. Deflected and it fell well short. So now you have no choice. You've got to shoot a 3 here. That is your only recourse for St. Martin's. Ryan Clear will be one of the 5 on the floor. She checks in at the scorer's table.
Yeah, it looks like she's going to be checking in for Mallory Vivola, too. So Saints taking their highest 3-point shooter off the floor. So I think what the move here is going to be.
Set a screen?
I think it's going to be to set a screen. My thought would be either Lauren Morris or it's going to be if Tierney Diodonis is out there on the floor, and I think she is. I think those are going to be the 2 options that the Saints go to first.
Could be Sutherland, could be Budeman. We'll see. We will reset the lineup for the Saints once they break the huddle. So here comes Sutherland, here comes Clear, here comes Diodonis, here comes Lo Morris, and here comes Claire Dingus. Those are the 5 on the floor for the Saints. Ryan Clear will be the one to trigger the inbounds. She is your traditional inbounder as well. That's another reason you bring Clear back into the game for Vivola. Let's see what the Saints set up. It's Morris and Sutherland down low for the moment. Diodonis sets a screen for Claire Dingus. A little bit of trouble getting in inbounds, and the Saints throw it away.
Miscommunication there. Tierney cut back towards the middle. And it looks like the Vikings are going to call a timeout here.
That's a wise decision because now the Vikings can advance. That ball, since no one touched it, in the men's game, it'd be ball out of bounds along the baseline, so a very tough spot. But in the women's game, you get to advance, which I love that rule. I wish that the men's game would adopt it. I think, what the heck? Why not? Let's just talk about this right now. The 4 quarters is so much better. It's such better basketball. I don't know why the men's game has been so slow to warm to the idea of the 4 quarters. You get more 2-for-1 opportunities, which, of course, I happen to love. You get more opportunities at buzzer beaters. I called a game a couple of weeks ago in Tacoma, UPS versus PLU. The same player, Austin, hit a buzzer beater to end the first quarter and the second quarter.
Wow.
One from 65 feet, one from 35 feet. Like, that's just – don't you want to see more opportunities for buzzer beaters? That's another big part of it. The fouls get cleaned up. How often do we see a team pick up 7 fouls in the first 6 minutes of a half, and then you're just stuck watching free throws for the final 14 minutes of a half? But with the fouls resetting at the onset of each quarter, it just makes for better basketball. The men's game needs to catch up and go to 4 quarters at some point, hopefully soon. Emma Duff will inbound for the Vikings. 5.2 left. Vikings lead by 3. Duff gets it inbounds to Rogers. They're trying to foul her, and they do. Kelsey Rogers can seal the deal. She hits one of these 2 free throws. It's all but over. 2 possessions with 3.7 is probably too tall a mountain to climb for St. Martin's.
Yeah, even if Western misses both, you're going to have about 2 dribbles before you can get a shot off if you're the Saints.
Rogers good on both free throws so far tonight. Knocks down the first. And that likely does it. It's now a 2-possession game with under 4 seconds to play.
Well, I mean, for the Saints, and it's something we'll talk about in the post-game show for sure, but they had an opportunity to just roll over down 18 to the Vikings. They battled all the way back. What an impressive game from the Saints, and hat off to Western Washington, 365 days or so off, and it looks like they're in midseason form.
Very impressive performance for Western Washington. Maybe a little sluggish, just 58 points to show for it on the night, but how about that, folks? If you're a Western Washington fan, of course you're happy. Very thankful to even have the opportunity to watch this team play at all. This is a team that wasn't going to play basketball this year. They hit the unpause button a few weeks ago, resumed basketball activities, and we're so glad they did. It's so good that these teams had the opportunity to compete here tonight, and they will do the same again tomorrow. Hey, we'll take a quick break, but please rejoin us here in just a moment. We'll get things squared away and give you some final thoughts on this one. The Saints women's basketball postgame show is coming up on the other side of this break. Hey, welcome back inside Marcus Pavilion. It's Jeff Lucero and Austin Burns back here with you for the St. Martin's women's basketball postgame show. Austin, it was a hard-fought game. The Saints came all the way back, eventually tied this game after trailing by as many as 18 points, but in the end it was just a little bit for naught. Western Washington able to lock it down in the closing moments. They earned their first victory of their 2021 season, their first live action in nearly a year. Their last game coming in the GNAC championship game last year, a loss to Alaska Anchorage. Just so we were talking about it as we went to break, let's talk about it again. It's just so good that this program was able to squeeze in a few games. They're going to play 2 games this weekend and 2 each of the following weekends. It's just that's what you want. If you're a GNAC basketball fan, you want as many of these programs coming back into the mix and competing against your team.
Absolutely. I mean, and we got a game like this because of it. I mean, what a game it was today. You know, again, hat off to both programs. You know, there's a lot of rules in place to be able to get to a point like this and be able to do this safely. So, you know, hat off to both administrations pushing forward to making sure an event like this happened and done safely. But, Jeff, what a basketball game. I mean, Western Washington, they're a very, very good squad. They, no doubt, if this was a normal year, in my mind, they're an NCAA tournament team. And St. Martin's, you know, down 18, I don't think anyone would have batted an eye if Western would have just kept the pedal to the metal and the Saints would have rolled over. But instead, Saints battled right back. It was just that Vikings bend but don't break. They allowed it to get tied, but they never allowed the Saints to get that mental edge on the Vikings and that edge on the scoreboard. And hat off to Western Washington. They did a good job closing this game out.
Well, and let's give credit where it's due for head coach Christy Martin. That technical foul that she earned really lit a fire under her team. Without that technical, I don't know what happens at that juncture of the game. It was 30-12 at that point, and the Saints came roaring back. They cut the lead down to 7 by halftime. And they just kept inching it down all the way. Were able to tie the game with about a minute to play. Claire Dingus tied the game, hitting 2 foul shots where she'd struggled throughout much of the night. But in the end, Western Washington, a very hard-earned, hard-fought victory. This was a fun game. It was a sluggish, disjointed game at times, but boy, you just like seeing teams just compete as hard as these two teams did tonight. For the game, Western Washington shoots just 36% from the floor and 23% from 3 and 67% at the foul line. They were led by the 18 points of Molly Olson, who looked so good at both ends of the floor, played tremendous defense opposite Claire Dingus much of the night. 18 points on 6 of 11 shooting, hit 2 of 4 threes, also pulled down 5 rebounds in 25 minutes of play. She was plagued with foul trouble and still wound up leading all teams Both teams in scoring by a bundle. 9 points as well for Kelsey Rogers, 8 points apiece for Avery Dykstra and Carly Zaragoza. Western Washington winds up with 34 rebounds. How about this? It was 20-17 at halftime. The Saints wound up out-rebounding Western Washington 45-34. So that's another big win for the Saints in the second half of this game. They were -3 at the halftime break, wind up +11 on the glass. For St. Martin's, they shoot 34% from the floor. Remember, though, they did not connect on a single three. Misfired on all 9 shots from beyond the three-point line. Shot just 67% of the line. Left 10 points at the free throw line. They shot 20 of 30. Led by the 12 points of Claire Dingus. She was 3 of 9 from the floor, 6 of 10 at the line. Winds up with another double-double, 12 points, 11 rebounds. Give her credit for 2 more steals tonight as well. 2 other Saints wind up in double figures. Emily Nelson finishes with 11 points on 4 of 7 shooting. She hauls down half a dozen boards of her own. Ryan Clear with 10 points and an additional 6 rebounds as well. 8 points for Eternity Reed, 6 more for Lauren Morris. She also had 8 rebounds, Lauren Morris. So Lauren Morris, I want to give her a lot of credit. We talked about her in the second half and the spark she provided for this team. A lot of good performances from the Saints tonight, a lot of complimentary parts, but they just never quite put it all together at just the right time.
Yeah, and I was about to say, well, Claire Dingus doesn't have her, typical game. She has 12 points and 11 rebounds. That's
just 9 shots tonight, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so
36 minutes.
Hat off to Claire Dingus. That's how good of a player she is. Mm-hmm. I feel like she doesn't have that, up to her standard of a game, and she still puts a double-double up on the board. Mm-hmm. But for me, the big steps today were Lauren Morris and Emily Nelson. What they were able to provide off the bench for the Saints, that's what really allowed them to get back in. Because that first look that the Saints threw at the Vikings, it didn't work. And the Vikings were able to handle that punch. Saints made that adjustment. That's what allowed them to get back into the game, is when those two players, and they were playing very unselfish basketball. They were defending all across the board. Again, if I'm St. Martin's, I'm very happy with the effort. Obviously, I felt like this was a winnable game when you're tied that late in the game. But for me, personally, I thought the Saints played a very good game tonight. Obviously, turnovers down the stretch really hurt them, and I think that's what cost them the game. But all in all, this is a very good Western Washington squad. You went toe-to-toe with them. Again, it was a good basketball game, and now you get the opportunity to go up to Bellingham tomorrow, try and return the favor and take a victory on that court. Not an easy thing to do. Mm-hmm. Vikings don't lose there very often.
This is one of the times, too, when I'm a little disappointed that we're not able to speak with head coach Christy Martin after the game. Now, she's not usually in the greatest of moods after a loss, but I think she would have been up here with some pretty good things to say both about her team and about Carmen Dolfo and the fact that Western Washington's even playing basketball again. I would love to get her thoughts and just how she feels, get her perspective on how nice it is to get another team sort of back in the mix here in the GNAC. And speaking of tomorrow, we are back on the broadcast, not for the women's game from Bellingham, but for men's basketball action. Let's quickly give you an update as well. Men's basketball over in Ellensburg tonight to take on Central Washington. They lead right now, 49-43 with plenty of time left. They just went under 13 minutes left in the game, but the Saints men's team with a 6-point lead on the Wildcats over in Ellensburg. So we will have men's basketball action for you here tomorrow night. Tip-off 6 o'clock. We'll get the pregame show rolling at about 1:45, so we hope you'll join us for that. Once again, Saints come fighting all the way back, able to tie the game in the game's closing moments, but fall just short, 58-54 here at home against Western Washington. Credit Carmen Dolfo and this Western Washington squad. They earned their first victory of 2021 and their first live game action in just under a year. A 4-point win for the Vikings tonight. That is going to do it for this broadcast. Oh, Saints just scored again over in Ellensburg. It's a 51-43 game. Awesome. We should tune that in. We'll just switch over to that game and watch the Saints finish things off with the Wildcats over there. But please, we hope you'll join us tomorrow night if you're a Saints fan. Saints tip off against Central Washington right here inside Marcus Pavilion at 6 p.m. Pregame show 5:45. In the meantime, have a great rest of your Friday night. We'll see you back on the broadcast tomorrow night. On behalf of Austin Burns and everyone within the St. Martin's Athletic Department, this is Jeff Lucero signing off for now. We'll see you again in about 24 hours. Good night.